Good afternoon. This is All Things Cheryl, here to do a review and a recap of Queen Sugar. But before we get into, what went on last night with the Landry and the Bourgeois and Charley and Noble and all of them, I'm asking you to do a couple of things so my channel can grow. And thank you all for those of you all who have basically subscribed to my channel. I have not been doing this so long, so I'm fairly new to, this. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, share, and become a subscriber. Raph Angel basically, and Ralph, excuse me, Ralph Angel basically has woken up from a hangover. He had a drinking binge going on. And we see that Hollywood has basically been sitting in the room and watching over him and making sure that everything is basically okay. Ralph Angel finally turns over and he finally wakes up from the devastating news that basically he received from Dollar. And so he tells Hollywood, Hollywood says, "Are you okay?" And Alphasia says, "Yes, I'm fine." He says, "I need for you to do me a favor." And so, of course, Hollywood says, "Okay, well, what is it that you need me to do?" He says, "I need for you to call everybody over, call the family over." And so while Hollywood is basically getting the family together, getting everybody over, we see that Remy has come into the office and Charley is there. Of course, you can say they somewhat are in a relationship, but the relationship is now, a business kind of relationship. And so all of a sudden we see Jacob. I believe, I don't know if he's the Boujon or is he a Landry. I'm not quite sure which one of these he is. But he's the youngest one. And so he comes in with his Texas cowboy hat, which was a nice looking cowboy hat. I have to give it to him on that one. And Charley is like, want to say, "Well, why are you here on my land, in my company? Why are you here?" And Remy and her had this, and him had this look of disgust on their faces. It's like, what are you doing here? And so this is when Jacob tells Charley, he says, "I would like to talk to you about business. And this has to do with one mill owner to another mill owner." And of course, Remy was basically there and everything. And so Charley tells Jacob, he says, "Look, whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of Remy. I ain't got nothing to hide. This is my partner. You can say it in front of him." So apparently, Jacob did not want to say or discuss any type of business in front of Remy. And so Remy basically, said, "Okay, Charley, go ahead and deal with this little, this little man." I'm going to say this little man, even though he's not little, and see what he want to do, because apparently you could deal with him and get him out of our out of our atmosphere, get him out of our way, get him out of our face. And so Charley said, and so Remy walks off. He walks off. And so this is when we find out the little scum of the earth is trying to make a business deal. He asks Charley, would she wants to become a business partner of him, because he basically tells Charley, and says, you might as well come on and be a business partner of mine, is because basically you're not going to be in business that long. What, you're going to have like 1 or 2 years, and then after a while, you're completely done anyway. This is what he thinks. And so Charley says, apparently, she says a little bit thing, but apparently it must be that I must be getting under your skin. I must be getting into your pockets. It's because he tells Charley, he says, my 40%. And then Charley tells him, nah, it's not no 40%. I think this is where she basically made her fault when she told Jacob, it's not 40% of the business that I'm getting 50%. And the reason why you here is because, look, you're scared I'm making these moves. And she goes on to tell him, say, look, I got a couple of more farmers who want to grind with me. And by the way, I got your cousin. I have that 20. What was that? 20. He's got a lot of acreage. 20 acres or something like that. He's got a lot of acreage. Okay, so Charley has made a move. Charley has gotten some white sugarcane people. Jacob, has gotten Martin to come in. Apparently to come in. We're not quite sure, but I still got my eye on him. I ain't trusting him. It's something about him. And so Charley says, look, I'm not doing it. You might as well forget it. When it comes down to it, I'm gonna own most of, if not all of the sugarcane business. I'm gonna put you out of business. And so that's when Jacob got up and he says he leaves. This is where Remy comes in and he asks Charley, he says, what is he up to and everything? And of course, Charley did not tell Remy that Jacob want her to become a business partner, and he's also infatuated by Charley. He likes Charley. It's not that he's infatuated with Charley. He also told Charley, told Charley that she intrigues him. No, it's not that the fact that it intrigues him. It's the fact that she's a strong black woman, and he, you can see that he's not feeling this little chocolate girl, this little chocolate woman coming into the business and interfering in his business as far as the sugarcane. So Charley did not tell Remy, which I don't think that was a good move on your part, Charley. If Remy already has, one eye, on you, and he don't really too much trust you. He trusts you, but then again, he don't trust you because he doesn't know exactly what you or how far you will go when it comes to getting that business. And we have to understand this. Charley is coming from Hollywood, where she's used to, cutthroat business, but she ain't used to Southern cutthroat business. So, in the meanwhile, remember we had Micah. And basically, Micah was very upset due to the fact that his school has a Confederate history, I'm going to say a Confederate history board. And that one thing that really struck at Michael was that the fact that it was this sword of General Lee or whoever it was, and it was eaten at it. So Michael decides that he want to put the pen to the paper. And so what he did is that basically he put together, apparently it must have been a very good letter, he put together this letter. And he had his little friend, his little white friend who he made friends with. And he and the little white friend, I don't know what his name was, they went around and put this letter on all of the students' lockers. And basically, you could see that some of the students, they were for it, and then you can see that some of the students weren't for it. You can see that they basically threw the letter in front of Michael's face, and then you had other students who would say, well, what a way to go. Go do your thing, Michael. So it seems that Micah has beginning to get um, a little, streak on himself, and his girlfriend Kiki, told him, if this Confederate stuff is eating you so bad, won't you do something about it? And so we find out that Micah basically gets called in the principal office, and the principal tells her, Micah, she says that basically what you did as far as the history and the Confederate and everything, and you writing the letter, it was a very good letter. But here's the deal. It's the pros and the cons. It's a do and a don't. On one hand, the letter and the board and everybody was in agreement due to the fact that we are going to take, we're going to take this Confederate stuff down, and we're going to take, all the other stuff, the sword and everything is coming down too. But here's the catch-22. And she goes on and explains to Michael, she quotes something about, you win some and you lose some. Due to the fact that Michael did not get any permission to, put this letter up and to put it on all of the students' locker, that's the consequence is that he is going to lose a month out of school, 30 days suspension. He gets 30 days suspension due to the fact that he did disrupt, but he did get something done. And due to the fact that not only did he write it and put it on in the lockers, but he also emailed it too. And so basically his friends was basically saying while they were putting the letter up, excuse me everybody, while they were putting the letter up, that sometimes a lot of people don't really, basically look at their emails and everything on, their email, especially, excuse me, my sinuses is acting up, especially if they, think that it's junk mail and everything. Most of the time, they'll throw the stuff in there. I know I do. I delete it. I don't even take time to read it. And so we find out that Michael is basically, he's becoming, a little, I think a little nobler and everything, but I think that this is going to make, I think that this may have something to do with the brochure too, because remember, I think their money is in that school too, so they probably said, well, suspend him, because I'm pretty sure they're on that board too. So he gets suspended. We find out that Michael gets suspended for 30 days, right? 30 days for what he's done. He did good. He did well, but he also loses a month out of school, and that can do a lot. Losing a month can do a lot. So we go on and we see that everybody has been assembled to the house. After Charley basically had this proposition coming from one of the Rogers or whatever, the Langer, she comes to the house and she asks us, she says, well, what's going on? I'm sorry I'm late, but what's happening? Why are we here? And Hollywood tells the family, says, I wish I knew. I have no idea what is basically going on. And so basically, and then this is when Charley says to Hollywood, is he getting cold feet about the marriage and everything? And so this is when Raph Anger comes out of the bedroom and says there will be no marriage. And he says, I can only say this, I'm only going to say this once. And he said, Blue is not mine. And you could see the devastating shock and amaze on everybody's face when Ralph Anger says, Blue is not mine. Now, I don't know what the deal is going on, because you know how y'all know how I roll. I'm going to be talking to Nova. I'm going to be talking to Ava DuVernay and Oprah. Now, when we found out last week that Dollar says may not be the father, and then we find out this week you're saying he is not the father. He says he's not. So what are you trying to do? Are you trying to slowly write Dollar out? I hope not, because this Dollar and them make the whole, characteristic of the family of Blue and, Ralph Angel and those two together with their son. I'm saying that it's their son when we know Dollar is the mother. At least we hope. Who knows? I don't know. But Ralph Angel has already gotten in his mind that he's not the father. And I think this is where he's already thinking that he's not the father. But here's the deal. I'm thinking that Aunt Vi knows a little bit more than what she's really saying. It's because when we find out, and he was like he could hardly stand up when he was saying that he is not the father. And the cinematography, the photographing, the stillness, you can see the power, of the cinematography. The videography was superb. It was off of the chart. The close-up, the semi-close-up, the medium close-up. You can just see the devastation of it all. And so we go on and we see after Charley and all of them finds out that he may not be the father, we go on and we see that the family is coming together. It's because the family is getting ready for their first harvest. And if you know, first harvest is a big deal, especially in the South or anywhere where people who are farmers. And if you are able to get a harvest, that is a big deal. That's money. And for Ralph Anger to be the first in 3 years to get a harvest is a big deal. And so basically we see that the family is getting together and they're serving their workers, because all of the people have come over to help with this first harvest. So to give them, a good send-off and a good harvest, they do breakfast for them. And we see that Ralph Angel basically comes out and he gives the speech of his life. But the one thing that brought to mind for me that was very, very heart fulfilling was that he tells the people, he says, thank you for coming. He says, there's a lot of things that's going on with me. And I'm glad that you come. But he said there's 2 things that I'm glad. It was the harvest and the fact he wanted to mention Blue, but he didn't want to mention Blue. But he says there's 2 things that I've ever really wanted to be, and I wanted to be the best at it. And he says I wanted to be the best farmer, but ultimate the best father. And that right there was so moving. And he was saying, saying that he wished that his mother, and he wished that as he was doing this prayer and he was thanking everybody in his speech, he was saying that I wish that my mother and my father could see this. And so we're basically is looking and seeing that Ralph Angel is becoming a man, even though he was a man, but even though with the devastation of this news that Dollar has given him, he has not stopped becoming a farmer. He's going to go out there and basically do his deal when it comes to being a farm. Now, we see that right after all of this devastating news and everything, we see that Dollar is basically getting ready to leave. And the reason why she's getting ready to leave is because they're getting ready to get ready for the first harvest and everything. And you see basically Hollywood comes through. And so when Hollywood comes through, she says, well, could you pick up Blue? Normally Ralph Angel will do it, but could you do it? And Hollywood, so Hollywood tells Dollar, yeah, we could do that. We could pick him up. But then this is when Hollywood went on and Dollar says, well, I didn't really mean to hurt anyone. And in so many instances, Hollywood said, well, basically, you did hurt anyone. You really hurt our families because you know how we feel about Blue. He is our world. And so Hollywood says, well, why did you feel that you needed to say anything about this? And so Dollar says, well, I was getting ready to marry Ralph Angel, and I basically didn't want to marry him knowing that he may not be the father of Blue. And so this is where Hollywood tells Dolly, says, you're a very intelligent woman. In other words, I'm thinking, you knew what you were doing. And he asks her, he says, well, why did you basically say anything? Why did you, keep it to yourself? Now, mind you now, Hollywood has just told Vi that we understand what secrets do to this family. And even though he knew, about a secret with Hollywood, about Aunt Vi having lupus, but he tells Dolly, he says it would have been better if you just hadn't said anything at all and just left it the way it was. And he left out. Now, mind you, we're having some problems. We see that another black sugar crop person has come to talk to Charley because there's rumor going all through the town stating that Charley's mill may not be up to able to hold all of the sugar cane that's coming through. There's all kinds of lies and everything that's going around in the city saying that she's not up to health code and saying that there's trucks sitting waiting for their canes to be grind and the mill can't hold it and everything. And so we see that Charley is basically sitting down with this black mill owner and asking him, will you come and let us, grind your sugar? And he asks Charley a bunch of questions. And so Charley says, well, sure, we have some problems here and there. He says, well, what other mill? She says, what other mill doesn't have problems here and there? It's basically true. You're going to have problems no matter what kind of business that you're going to have. You're going to have problems. And so that's when this owner, the other black sugarcane owner, told Charley, says, look, you basically have a mole within your bill, going around spreading words, going around saying all these bad things about you. And so we understand that I think personally she could have a mole, because remember before they were on the first season, the Bojan, and the Lantern were doing all kinds of stuff trying to get, a sample of their sugar cane, trying to get people to become a part of the mill so they could figure out what's going on within the mill. So there probably is somebody in there that's basically running their mouth, and we won't know that until, maybe next week, where they're going to have a 2-hour episode. It's going to come on for 2 hours. But there's somebody who's basically running them out. But although, I don't know, it could have been Martin, the guy the other cousin who liked Charley. We don't know. So it's a whole bunch of stuff running around. So in the meantime, while all of this is happening, so Charley is sitting there wondering what's going on. And so we see that Charley is still at the mill, and she's basically, has gotten to the mill. And so Charley sees Dollar sitting. And Charley is like, I know. I gotta sit up on this. You see that? Wait a minute. Are you here in my bill working? And Charley, and then Dollar comes to Charley and says, I know that everything is devastating to you. And Charley looks at her and said, everything that you have said has been a lie and a deceit. You carried this thing for 7 years. She didn't say 6. She said 7, because apparently Blue had a birthday. Remember now, Blue had a birthday. So he turned 7. So for 7 years. And she says, you know what? I need for you to be, get your things, pack all your stuff, and you need to roll. Let the doorknob hit you where it may not hit you. I'm going to give you 2 weeks of service pay, and I need for you to be gone like now. She said within an hour, but I was like, well, within an hour, that means like now. You need to get to stepping. And so we go on and we hear that Charley and Nova is on the phone. And Charley is telling Nova exactly, what went down with Dollar and herself. In the meantime, Nova is looking at an article of a story that somebody is trying to sabotage the sugar mill, Queen Sugar Mill. And so Nova, one of Nova's friends who works in the newspaper business, gives Nova a heads up as to, what's going on with it. And so Nova is trying to proposition stuff, trying to, get them to beat the story of the person who's going to do this article and who's been trying to sabotage Charley and the business. And so basically Nova talking to the guy and says, look, we can't really, do this. This is a hot news. Your sister is a celebrity, and I need to report this. And so basically, Nova was really upset due to the fact that this guy didn't want to budge and everything. But I believe that they're gonna get what they're gonna get. In the meantime, news has spread, and everybody is getting nervous. It's because Ralph Angel is out in the field. Ralph Angel is doing his first harvest and everything. And some of the workers are beginning to get really nervous. It's because it has spread over into the fields and they hear about it. And so Ralph Angel tells guys, said, well, what's the deal? What's going on? How come why are you nervous and everything? He said, well, it seems like the trucks is backed up and they can't grind the sugar and one thing them to the other. And Ralph Angel says, look, you letting these people get the advantage of you. These are nothing but white boys basically trying to scare us from doing our business. They want our land. So hey, you gotta, in other words, Ralph Angel saying, telling them, look, don't let these people scare you off of you making your money and everything. Do what you need to do. But in the meantime, Ralph Angel was, kind of sort of on the edges because then he was cool, but then Prosper was basically getting kind of nervous and everything. And so he was saying, well, what's going on? Can't you call somebody? Can't you call Dollar to find out what's going on? How come nobody, because Ralph Angel was calling and nobody's picking up the phone. And then when Prosper mentions Dollar's name, Ralph Angel's like he wanted to collapse all over again. And so finally, Ralph Angel sees Remy. Ralph Angel and Remy and Ralph Angel talks. And Remy tells Ralph Angel what's really going on. And so that's when Remy tells Ralph Angel, look, don't get caught up on this. Keep doing what you got to do because, this is your first harvest. And for your first harvest, and plus you're getting a profit to do your thing. And so that's when we see that Remy, Nova, and Charley are basically together. And so what they're trying to do is do a strategy to keep this spreading of negativity about Charley and the sugar cane to be spread. And so they, basically coming up with a strategy. And so this is when Charley says, this is a little bit more bigger than I calculated. I really didn't realize how greedy these people really was. And then for a minute, you could see where Charley was kind of sort of not quite sure. And this is when Remy, was like, look, this is not you, Charley. You need to kind of like not let these people get a hold of you and you need to fight. And I was like, yes, fight, because this is your legacy. This is your father's legacy. This is y'all's family legacy. They're messing with the lineage. And these are what people want you to do is to stop. And this legacy is important. This is a very important legacy. And so we also find out that Nova has basically kind of peeked what is going on with her aunt. And her aunt basically had a one-on-one conversation. And Nova tells her aunt, says, look, I know exactly what's going on. How did you feel? And then this is when Aunt Violet tells Nova, says, some days are good days and some days are bad days. And it was a very touching, moving scene where we see Nova and her aunt together. But Nova also knows that lupus can be devastating, especially if you do not handle it right. And it ain't going right, I mean, with all of this emphasis that's going on. And so, I love how, I don't know, but anyway, in the earlier episode, in the earlier part, Aunt Vi was telling everybody when everybody was around and they found out the news that Blue may not be Ralph Angel, and Aunt Vi says that Blue is our baby, and we basically is going to, keep him under us. He is our baby. And so we go on with the fact that we see that Ralph Angel has come into the house and he sees Blue's bedroom. And he stands and he looks at Blue's bedroom. And he goes inside of it. And he gets into Blue's bed. And basically, this is when everything ends. Now, this is very good. I mean, I don't know what's going on with you. I mean, I ain't talked to y'all writers too much today because this was a very good, excellent episode. But we know everything is getting ready to break loose. What's getting ready to break loose? We have no idea. But I'm gonna give you some of my ideas. I'm gonna give you what I kind of think. I kind of think that I don't want Dollar to relapse, but I think that Dollar may relapse, being to the fact that what her mentor said to Ralph Angel, and I think she might slip for a minute simply because what not only with her mentor but also what her mother told her about what happened to her when she had 23 years of sobriety, and when Dollar was going through her drugging episode, that she collapsed. So I'm thinking that Dollar might slip for like a minute. I also feel that and when I say they, I'm thinking Darlene and Quincy. It's a little bit more to this Darlene and Quincy due to the fact when Darlene was telling Dollar the father took it really, really hard. So I'm kind of like looking at that too out of the corner of my eye. And I'm also looking at due to the fact that I'm thinking that Darlene is going to try to persuade Dollar to move to D.C. And I think that's going to happen. I also think that Charley, I don't know, but I'm feeling that Charley might give up some to get what she wants. I'm thinking that she might give up something to get what she wants. Because, when she had that conversation with Remy, she said, do you believe in karma? There's some things that she's probably done in order to get ahead to where she is now. So I'm thinking, I might be wrong, but I'm thinking that Charley either she gonna do it with one of them, and Remy, I don't know. But those are my, and then I'm also thinking with Aunt Vi. I'm still feeling some kind of way with Aunt Vi knowing that she has been receiving money from Darlene. That's another thing that's, got a little question mark. Yeah. So in the meantime, let's get ready for this final episode next Wednesday, which is going to be a 2-hour long. And I don't know what's going to happen, but let's just kind of hold on to our hats. In the meantime, peace and love.